About these boys. These bad boys. I don't need any towels. Is that? Oh, Slippy.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Oh, good. Oh, did you just stare at the camera?
Before the Bung Knockers were formed, lovingly known as BBK, I was on this journey alone. And so I had to convince my dear friend and collaborator, choreographer Cindy Mora Reiser, to join me. Pros: she's a brilliant artist and one of my besties. Cons: she only drinks white wine. Cindy and I have teamed up on numerous projects over the years, including staples of the American musical theater, like West Side Story, and Fiddler on the Roof. And she graciously traveled from her home in Atlanta to join me in Tennessee.
I'm so happy you're here. It's so important that you're here.
Thank you.
Do you know why it's important? Because you're my friend.
For one.
And I need theater people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're important.
Well, we are important, but we have to infiltrate their distillery with musical theater people.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me
Let's
too.
do it.
Me too.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We wanted to be the first distillery in Chattanooga in 100 years. This company was born pushing the envelope, but we went into it wanting to continue to blaze our own trail in the industry. And in Tennessee High Malt was really the genius of Grant coming into the picture and challenging me and the organization to think bigger. And we turned this place into a playground. And that's why it's called the Chattanooga Whiskey Experimental Distillery. But from 2015 to 2017, this was not my plan. This was, Grant comes on, he's like, what if we do this? And I'm like, that sounds really cool and also really scary, but why not? Hey Dan, it's a good time.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you for accepting us on short notice. This is Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Hey,
nice to meet you, Tim.
Thanks for having
Cindy's a frequent collaborator of mine, a brilliant choreographer.
Oh, very cool.
I do Broadway musicals and tours and stuff like that. And, I became obsessed with our unique American art forms: baseball, jazz, musical theater, and bourbon.
I grew up doing it all except for musical theater.
Oh, I was hoping.
Yeah.
So you're
I say what musical.
so you're a jazz.
I was a jazz drummer, for a really long time.
What are you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Do you still play?
I still play for myself in my garage set.
And how did you get interested in whiskey?
Through a buddy of mine and I that started the company together. We found the history of whiskey in Chattanooga. Chattanooga, Tennessee was very much what seemed to be a hub of distilling and liquor production and distribution for the country. And so we wanted to revive that. Chattanooga Whiskey Facebook page. We're bringing Chattanooga Whiskey back. Would you drink Chattanooga Whiskey? We posted this question and we wake up the next morning and, there's hundreds of locals saying like, so where can we get this stuff? When's it coming out? I mean, we didn't have a business plan. We didn't have a product. We didn't have anything or money. We discovered the history in October of 2011. The night we discovered the history was the same night we posted, we're bringing Chattanooga Whiskey back on Facebook. By November and December, we were on the front page of the Times Free Press business section with an empty bottle, or with a glass bottle of bourbon that had bourbon in it, but like there was no label, there was nothing, and we were telling the story about how we're bringing whiskey back to Chattanooga with like no material. And we discovered LDI. They had thousands of barrels in stock. And we're like, hey, we need bourbon, send us some recipes, what do you got? And so they send us their 75 corn, 21 rye, 4% malted barley recipe. and it was delicious. It was 3 years old. The samples were 3 years old. We were like, how many barrels do you have in this? All right, no, like this is our bourbon. We can move forward with this. And then we created Chattanooga Whiskey 1816 label. I mean, that's how we got started. And then we found out it was illegal to distill in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and in the majority of the 95 counties. And so we just kind of overnight became makeshift lobbyists. We created a campaign called the Bow Whiskey Campaign, and then we lobbied the county. There was actually a county vote. There were, awesome turnout. It was, I think, one of the largest turnouts in courthouse history for overturning the law.
Thing we will do is come out for
right, yes.
that will come out before.
So I wasn't quite sure we were going to get it, but because there were several hundred citizens that showed up to the county, with Vote Whiskey pens and shirts that we had created, nobody wanted to vote against it. But the state attorney general, his opinion basically said, hey, look, this is a state law, not a county law. So afterwards, we Senate Bill 129, we created, through, his name was Representative Joe Carr. So he sponsored that bill.
Wow.
And that bill passed in May of 2013. And then we kind of had to regear, think about how we're gonna land on our feet. We built the experimental distillery. We established this location in March of 2015. The first distillery in Chattanooga since 1915, exactly 100 years. So that's why we say making up for 100 years of prohibition on our window. There's actually a bunch of barrels behind here.
Oh, I bet. And there's some barrels here. Yes, we are for sale. Do you think this is too big to carry on the plane back to Newport?
So when we first started, we couldn't get our hands on 53-gallon barrels, so we had to do 25-gallon barrels. So these were the first barrels that barrel number one, the first barrel we ever produced is right there on the floor.
Oh, number one. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the first one. Barrel date 3/27/2015.
Yeah. This is the only standalone experimental whiskey distillery in the United States. Not another distillery in the U.S. that has explored the amount of grains, barrel finishes, yeast, and when you put it all together, now north of 450 barrels, no one else has done that. So
I thought even a bourbon person, this smells delicious.
The grains are just like,
wow.
Oh.
So dance choreography, is that what you mean?
Yeah, and a Chardonnay drinker.
Okay, all right, gotcha. Oh, yes.
Do you have any Chardonnay?
So these are, I like to kind of refer to them as Easter eggs, right? Like Easter eggs of bourbon recipes. Really, no barrel is the same, unless maybe there's a batch that might be 2 barrels, maybe 3 barrels at the most, but for the most part, of about 200 barrels that usually age down here, they're all different. So, and like I said, we've done over 450 experimental barrels. We make essentially 1 barrel a week out of the experimental distillery.
Okay.
So it's about 50 barrels a year that we make out of that. And it's just not a lot, right? It's only about 2,500 6-pack cases a year. So that's why, in the very beginning, we're this is a lab, right? And so everything we do is greater than 25% specialty malts. That's really high, right? Traditionally in bourbon, it's 3, 4, 5, 6% pale malt barley, which has been used for the cooking and fermentation process, breaking down starches essentially. So fortunately, found who was going to be our head distiller, Grant McCracken, out of Boston, where Grant and his background of working with specialty malts, because he was a prominent brewer, he said, look, specialty malts, that's where all the flavor is. And nobody traditionally in American whiskey and in bourbon is utilizing specialty malts to the degree that they should be utilizing them. You can create hundreds of different flavor profiles out of the dozens of cereal grains, right, that you can use. So it's totally untapped when it comes to American whiskey and bourbon, but it is the driver of flavor in craft beer. instead of taking the path of least resistance and producing essentially the same product that we had been selling, because we built up a multi-thousand case brand out of the MGP, that was Chattanooga Whiskey 1816 Reserve and Cask. 99% of the industry would follow that path. I was like, okay, well, at some point, there's going to be an end to this MGP, in our life cycle. We're like, well, what are we going to scale up? What's going to replace 1816? And it was like bracketology. It was like March Madness, right? But with bourbon barrels. So like we had 100 barrels, and we narrowed it down to 20, and we narrowed it down to the final 4. And the whole team was involved in narrowing down these recipes and sliding these recipes until we got to the final 4. Then I was like, final 4? I was like, it's mono and mono here. This is Grant and I. We're gonna figure out what we want, right? With it was like trying to pick our favorite child in that sense, right? So anyways, Grant and I did a blind tasting with these with the final 4, and we both landed on barrel 91 as our flagship that we wanted to scale. And so it happened to be the 91st barrel. And 1816 happened to be 90 proof, or the reserve was 90 proof. So we were like, oh, just bumped up 1 proof and call it Chattanooga 91 to honor the 91st barrel, and it's 91. So yeah, worked out pretty cool.
Wow.
And then in 2019, after 8 years, we turned the spigot off to MGP entirely and turned on 100% authentically made Chattanooga whiskey called Chattanooga 91, and that's called, and we trademarked that style called Tennessee Highball. So nobody can make Tennessee Highball except for Chattanooga whiskey.
So there's a musical in here.
Well, it's a
musical.
Listen, what's amazing to me, not only as a whiskey nerd, the process that you're discussing, it's not all that dissimilar from any creative process.
Right.
I'm finding so far with people that I'm talking to, and most notably you, Tim, that you're only as good as the people around you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Let's go. You want to taste some?
Sure. Well,
No, sorry.
how theatrical was that? Okay, so now I'm going to direct it just the way you did it, Tim. I'm going to taste some. I'm going to give you a reaction, and then we're going to go black.
All right.
All right?
Yeah. You want to taste some? Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Congrats.
Tim.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful story.
Yeah, if you guys are roaming around town tonight, you should at least drive by the Riverfront Distillery. Like drive around the front of it. It's pretty impressive for a small craft brand.
And then I'm assuming that you get tours over there.
We don't.
You don't?
No, it's closed. That is really cool because like everything's bigger. There's a beautiful tall column and like copper column and pot, and there's over 5,000 aging barrels over there, so the barrel house is significantly larger. But this is where it all started, and this is much more boutique and intimate and warm and fuzzy. Right?
It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so welcoming. You're not going to believe me, and I'm not just saying this. I like this.
I know.
I'm freaking myself out right now.
It's delicious.
Because usually I'm like, but I'm like, okay. Look at me.
I am super impressed with this.
So yeah, this is designed to be approachable, super approachable, right? Like the big brother or big sister to 91.
Your 111?
Is our 111, which
Look at that.
which here I'll grab a couple of other
I think great.
glasses. Because 111 is so robust and flavorful, and it's unfiltered, so char from the barrel enters into every bottle. It has this really crazy viscosity that I like to equate. So a couple things I like to kind of compare things. Your traditional bourbons are all milk chocolate. Everybody loves milk chocolate. And Chattanooga whiskey's dark chocolate. So
That explained it. I love dark chocolate.
so this is if you're biting into a s'more, And your body, like the outside of the s'more is 91. It's your graham cracker, honey notes, stuff like that.
Okay.
The center of the s'more with your chocolate and marshmallow is 111.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
I'm amazed. I'm speechless again.
It's 111 proof.
I've never had a 91 proof whiskey, bourbon, that this is less than 3 years old.
Yeah.
So, and how do you get such pleasant
It's the alcohol.
heat on a 91?
Every step matters.
Ouch. Seriously, wait till you try that.
It's incredible. It's the Tennessee High Malt. That's what it is. It's yours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so unique
Yeah.
and delicious. And why is this tasting hotter than
Only a
this?
commercial right now. Well,
Why is this tasting a bit hotter than this?
because of the viscosity. It coats your palate. It's like, it feels like the texture on your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like more like a warm blanket. You know?
Yep.
Versus that's going to feel a little thinner because it's proof down.
This smells delicious, though.
Give it another go. Give it another try.
I'm scared of it.
Do you sell it in perfume bottles?
I'm scared. I'm scared.
We got to talk about so anyway.
Do you want it in a perfume
Just
bottle?
hey, just imagine screaming kids right now.
In that case. I'm just proud of myself so far. Would you proud of me?
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Founders. Still hot?
If you're not drinking your own stuff, what are you drinking?
My own stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
You're in New York with your wife. You're seeing a couple of Broadway shows. You go to the Palm restaurant, great steakhouse. You say, can I see the whiskey list? They give you the whiskey list. Your gorgeous brand, unfortunately, is not on the list.
I'm not going fancy.
But they have everything there. What do you, you're like, yeah, you know what? I could use a couple ounces of whiskey because I'm seeing a Broadway musical and I'm going to fall asleep. What are you drinking?
Chattanooga.
You're tough, man.
I like it too.
Fast forward a few months, Tim Piersant and his gorgeous family find themselves in New York City at Broadway's The Lion King. And they are wide awake.
So when you look at our back bar right here, none of these bottles are the same. These are all different Chattanooga bottles. Every single one is a different release.
Jeez Louise.
And I have all these at home. A bunch of liqueurs. There's a gin liqueur. You know, gin that we see.
Why go out for milk when you have the cow?
So we did a. You what?
When
Sorry, that's
timing. Bad timing.
Bad timing.
Bad timing.
Yeah, we did this aquavit right here.
Is it? Maybe not. It tastes fruitier. Is that bad?
I mean, this is a malted rye.
Okay.
So it's going to be a little spicier and.
I like the way it feels on this side of my tongue.
This is your favorite one?
I like this one.
This is beautiful. My favorite is without a doubt the 91.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
It's-
between both, but this
It's
is just nice.
I love the founders. I love that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge rye guy, but the rye with the malt makes it great for me. And this is the smoothest 111 I've ever tasted in my life. But this guy right here, because I had that kind of finish of almost cinnamon, like on the finish in the
Yeah.
palate, that nice.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. What are you most proud of?
That risk. I mean, creating Tennessee high malt, and that we have a company of approximately 40 people that believe in it, you know, and that the community went from, oh, these guys are probably just capitalizing on the name of Chattanooga to Oh, wow. Like they actually, now I would say we're considered one of the pillars of the community when it comes to a brand.
And at the end of the day, right, just like we do, the proof is in the juice, right? It's in the product. At the end of the day, you pour that and you drink it, and you see the love, talent, attention, care, aptitude that goes into producing this. Look at, I mean, clean up your mess, son. Yes, I will clean up my mess. I find it hard to believe. Where did she go? I find it hard to believe that I drank all of that, but it feels shameful to leave just a little bit left,
Thank you for joining us on this very special episode of the United States of Bourbon. If you or anyone you know has a Chardonnay problem, please share your story with us in the comments section below. The Bung Knockers will be back as we navigate Peerless, Buffalo Trace, Angel's Envy, and many, many more. Hit that like and subscribe button and smash that notification bell so you're up to date on all of our goings on. It's bourbon. You have to.